Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Newark and Sherwood series, a district of 84 civil parishes right in the centre of Nottinghamshire. Come with me as we delve into one of them. Welcome back to Newark and Sherwood, everybody. We've got 5 left now here in the district, and today I'm taking on the second biggest one that Newark and Sherwood has. And I'm starting outside a football ground. You can see behind me, it's the lane, which is the home of Ollerton Town. Welcome to Ollerton and Boughton. This Newark and Sherwood video is sponsored by Past Days, a family history blog by June Terrington. You'll find a link in the description. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome to the second largest parish in Newark and Sherwood in terms of population, and the second of its 3 towns. This is Ollerton and Boughton, which lies on the edge of Sherwood Forest in the area known as the Dukeries, and that name is used by its local secondary school. Ollerton was an ancient parish and became a civil parish in 1866. This was abolished in 1996 and merged with the parish of Boughton to form what we have today. For many years, the main occupation in Ollerton was hop growing, and there were hop fields along the River Mourne from as early as 1691, and a weekly hop market was held in the town on Fridays. In the 1920s, the main industry here was coal mining. Ollerton Colliery was completed during the general strike of 1926, and its opening attracted many miners from Northeastern England and from Scotland. There was a large Polish community amongst the miners at Ollerton, estimated to make up roughly half of the workforce in the mid-1980s. Ollerton can be split into several areas, but 3 are easily identifiable. New Ollerton, which grew with the pit, and the historic village cores of Boughton and Old Ollerton. All 3 have their own churches, and all 3 will feature on this walk. So too will Ollerton Pit Wood, Ollerton Watermill, the River Mourne, and loads of pubs, shops and offices. The landmarks will come at you thick and fast in this one, folks, so let's not waste time. Let's go. Strap in, folks, this is a long route. We begin at Walesby Lane, simply known as The Lane, the home ground of Ollerton Town Football Club. As a town, Ollerton has had many football clubs, but the current team was formed in 1988 and was originally named Ollerton and Bevercoats FC. This name would change to Ollerton Town when the colliery closed in 1994. So where are we then? Well, we're on the edge of New Ollerton, and the football ground is located on the fringes of a massive housing estate. Much of this northwestern part of Ollerton is residential, and how. There are vast areas of the town that look just like this. There's a reason why there's more than 11,000 people that call this home. A lot of Ollerton's housing developed with the colliery, mainly during the 1960s and 1970s. At one time, these streets would have been swarming with miners. Of course, there are some shops within this estate. Take this little parade at the northernmost tip of Whitewater Road, directly opposite a small park. Now you'll have noticed, of course, that it's really early in the morning here. It's about 6:30, and of course the shop is not open. Not much is open at the moment, to be honest with you. But this was all part of my plan to get this sort of residential area out of the way first while it's nice and cool, because it's been really warm just lately, and then we'll end in the town centre later. So if you're looking for the good stuff in this one, it's going to come right at the very end. You'll have to stick around all the way to the end of the video if you can make it that far. Moving on, we continue now into an area that's full of streets named after trees. Here's Lime Tree Road, and we're heading for what's known locally as the Church Circle. We're heading for a church, but there's also a surgery up here as well. Not to be confused with the mansion of the same name near Scotch Corner, that's Middleton Lodge. Here's the church, dedicated to St Paulinius. It's one of 3 Anglican churches we'll see on this route. This is the youngest of the 3, having been built in 1931 by the Butterley Company. It was deliberately located at the geographical centre of New Ollerton, and that earned it a nickname, the Cathedral for the New Coalfield. The tree-themed streets continue now with Larch Road, and this brings us to a junction with Ollerton's main thoroughfare, the A6075. That will make several appearances later because a stretch of it forms the main shopping area in the town centre. Next though, we're going to be talking education. Okay, so this is Winnie Lane, and this is where we're going to find Dukeries Academy, which is one of the many schools in Ollerton, but it's the only one that's a secondary school. Let's go and check it out. Well, we're not quite at Dukeries Academy yet. It sits in something called the Dukeries Complex. Before we get there, we have to pass Ollerton Bowls Club. At the southwestern edge of the complex is a primary school. This is Parkgate Academy, a brand new school which was formed in 2016. Next to this is Ollerton Army Cadets. The main entrance to the complex is off Main Road, the B6387. On the way there you pass St Joseph's Roman Catholic School, which opened in 1963. It's a left turn now towards the Dukeries complex. The Dukeries Academy is the town's secondary school and sixth form. Many former pupils watching this will have known it in their time as the Dukeries Comprehensive School, as it became an academy in 2013. The school can trace its history back to 1964 and was one of the first comprehensive schools in Nottinghamshire. The complex also has some other buildings, including one that was opened by Olympic gold medalist Rebecca Adlington. Make no mistake about it, Dukeries Academy is one big school. It occupies a massive site to the east of Ollerton, and right next door there's another interesting building. There you go, that's the Dukeries Leisure Centre you can see behind me. So as well as the Dukeries School, you've also got a leisure centre in this massive complex. Now what we're going to do is we're going to follow a path that runs alongside the leisure centre now towards another interesting building which I didn't even know existed until about 5 minutes ago, and we're going to follow that path and eventually end up in Boughton. The building I could see is commonly known as the firehouse. Can you see it looks a little bit burnt in places? That's because it's used to simulate real fires to train local firefighters. How about that for unique? The path that runs past this leads to Turner Lane Park, a wide open green space between New Ollerton and Boughton. Now Boughton can be split into 2 areas, the old village core which is centred on its church to the east, and this, the much more modern housing area to the west. In fact, the 2 are almost divided by the route of a railway line. All around Ollerton and Boughton you will see plenty of railway bridges. This one carries a branch line of the High Marnham Test Track. It was originally a coal hauling line and led to Bevercoats Colliery. It runs through Boughton Brake Tunnel just to the north of the village, which is known to the locals as the Mummy's Tunnel. We've seen this line before. I walked down part of it in the Horton episode of Basset Law. Okay, once under that bridge you're on a little green and you're heading into the village of Boughton, which is now sort of conjoined to Ollerton thanks to expansion. There's a few things in this, including its church, and that's where we're heading. Boughton's standout feature is by far its church. As you pass Manor Close, you're treated to this gorgeous sight of the tall spire at St Matthew's. Although it looks much older, this is a church which is relatively new. It dates from 1868 and was designed by everyone's favourite architect of the time, James Fowler of Louth. It was built to replace a previous church which had fallen into a dilapidated state. Very little is known about the church it replaced. Together with St Paulinius's and St Giles's Church in Old Ollerton, it forms a joint ecclesiastical parish. The interior is plain and simple and has just one brass memorial plaque, as well as a World War I memorial tablet. Next door to the church is Boughton Village Hall. This is a former national school which was built in 1861 and could accommodate 70. Behind this is Ollerton Rugby Club. Rugby soon might not be played here, as a potential ground share was announced earlier this year with Ollerton Town at Walesby Lane. Now, as you leave Boughton to the south, you get a great view of a massive wood, which you can see on that hill over there. That is Ollerton Pit Wood. Now, unfortunately for me, I'm not going to escape this one like I did with Vicar Water Country Park in Clipston. I do have to walk through that one because it's part of the route and it's a hill. Oh dear. As we leave Boughton, we pass a pub, that being the Harrow Inn, which has live entertainment most weekends. There are plenty more pubs coming around this route. We then go under another railway bridge, and this one carries the same branch line we spoke about earlier. Just beyond this is the entrance to Ollerton Pit Wood. This is split into two pieces, a large circular affair, which is what we're about to walk through, and a smaller area we'll also pass through later. Much like Vicar Water Country Park, Ollerton Pit Wood was formerly a spoil tip for the local colliery. Now managed by Forestry England, the site has been extensively planted with trees and numerous walking trails have been created over what is effectively a mini mountain. It's not an easy climb to the top, let me tell you. Mind you, the effort is worth it for the spectacular views, and a hill this high is definitely the perfect place for one of these iron beacons. So there are plenty of benches and picnic tables which are dotted around here at Ollerton Pit Wood. You kind of need them really after you're climbing up the hill. It's not a shallow hill by any stretch of the imagination. I'm going to have 5 minutes here before I carry on, and then we'll head down towards the southern part of the town. Once out of the Pit Wood, part 1, we're on to Newark Road. Oh look, another railway bridge. This one's carrying the main route of the High Marnham Test Track. Beyond the bridge is the base of Murphy Plant. You'll all have seen their distinctive green vans somewhere before, I'm sure. They're the UK's largest provider of plant and transport equipment, and they were founded in 1951. This whole area is a bit of a mixture in terms of land use. Part of it is industrial, whilst the rest is residential. At the end of this housing estate, there's a path which links you to the town centre via the smaller part of Ollerton Pit Wood. This section of the wood runs along the southern edge of what used to be the colliery itself, and it's bounded to the north by the High Marnham Test Track. The path crosses the railway by way of yet another railway bridge. Ollerton might not be Pittsburgh, the city with the most bridges in the world, but honestly, it has that many, it feels like it could be sometimes. There's old railway infrastructure everywhere you look in Ollerton. That is a prime example. We're not going to go over the bridge right now and into the town centre because there's still some more to see before I actually get to the town centre itself. I promise you, you are going to have to wait until the very end for that. Instead, we're going to head through this part of the wood, down this path here instead. This will take us to the southernmost point of the town, and one of the things that's on my list to capture down here is Ollerton Jubilee Hall. So let's see if we can find that. It might be a fair way away yet, I'm not totally sure. There could be some more things in between. Let's go and find out. Weller Road is where we find Ollerton Jubilee Hall. Now, although Ollerton and Boughton has town status, this building is used in much the same way as your standard village hall would be. Next door we have another pub. This is a small family-run affair called the Ollerton House, which was owned by Marstons until May this year. Wellow Road has some surprising properties. It's Fairholme next, which houses the Carpet Bargain Centre factory outlet. Their shop is one of the many I was to see later in the town centre. The next thing to catch my eye was Westerways, which has a holiday let around the back called Acorn Cottage. A little unexpected, that one. Just after this there's another railway bridge, and this time we're going over the High Marnham test track. To the south, this runs past the former Ollerton railway station, which still stands. As Wellow Road starts to bend towards town, you come to this junction. Eyes left, people, it's time to go to the original Ollerton village. Okay, so we've reached the edge of Old Ollerton. This is the oldest part of the village, the bit that existed before anything else in New Ollerton, at least anyway. Not so much Boughton, because obviously that's quite old too, isn't it? So let's have a walk around this. This has got some interesting features. There's a church here, there's an old watermill, a few other bits and bobs. Let's go and see them. By using Besker Lane, we can walk around Old Ollerton in a neat little loop. This building is the local Jehovah's Witnesses Kingdom Hall. We don't see many of these. When it was just a village, Ollerton was an important coaching stop on the Great North Road. It was situated on a crossroads where 3 roads all met, these being from London to York, Lincoln to Mansfield and Worksop to Newark. Some fine buildings survive from those days, including this old fire station. Just a bit further up the street is a former Ebenezer Primitive Methodist Chapel which dates from 1869. This is now in residential use. Over the road is Hamlin Lodge, a house typical of the late 18th and early 19th century. This has a well-preserved fire mark above its door. T.S. Barrows, a local furniture makers, are based within. This is all on Station Road, by the way, so named thanks to the former Ollerton station at the other end of it, where it meets the A614. Okay, so now we're in the centre of the village, the old village square, effectively, I would say this is. A few other shops here. We've got a salon just there. There's something on the corner there, a florist there, old computer shop there as well, which looks to be closed down. Not totally sure. Blinds are shut though. The church overlooks all of this, and also too does the White Hart. That's this building here, and this is a Samuel Smith's pub. There you go, Samuel Smith. Very familiar with those. Although Ollerton is ancient, there was no mention of a church here in the Domesday Book. This is St Giles's Church, which was built sometime around 1780 on the site of a medieval building. There are grave markers here which predate this building, and it has one bell cast in 1780 by Mears and Steinbank of London. It overlooks the marketplace, the centre of activity in Ollerton centuries ago. Here's a beauty salon called Aura, which used to be the old post office. In the square opposite we've got a parish notice board. Mark Ollerton and Boughton off those lists, everyone. 4 to go in Newark and Sherwood. Also nearby we have an old water bowser which dates back to the late 19th century. And this brings us to the standout feature of the old village, Ollerton Watermill. This was built in 1713 and was producing flour commercially until 1984. Restored in 1993, it now houses a tea shop and an exhibition. Now let me tell you folks, this is the most beautiful part of Ollerton if you ask me. That's just my opinion. Other people might have other opinions, but that's mine anyway. Here you have a little island where the river splits into 2 pieces. Here's one piece, and the other piece is over there beyond the War Memorial, which stands on this very island. There it is. Let's go over to the other side. Here's the other part of the river. There we go. And we're going to walk down there in a moment past the Hot Pole Hotel towards our next main area. But isn't this just idyllic? It's fabulous. And the great thing about it is there are benches as well, like this one here, so you can just sit and watch the world go by. Very peaceful. The handsome early Georgian Hot Pole Hotel was one of the village's coaching inns. Like the White Hart, this too is a Samuel Smith's pub. It's currently closed though. Not closed is Bella Vita, an Italian restaurant which used to be a pub itself, once called the Snooty Fox. I can recommend this place. It's a good place for a drink by the riverside. The former Sherwood Garage is next. This and the adjoining farm buildings are owned by Samuel Smith's Brewery. Also vacant is the massive Ollerton Hall. Dating from the 1700s, Ollerton Hall was once a country house. For more than 50 years it's been empty, but will soon become apartments according to recent reports. Leaving Old Ollerton behind now, we've taken a big jump back towards New Ollerton. On the end of Walesby Lane we find the local police headquarters, and not far beyond that, along Forest Road, is Ollerton's current Methodist church. We're slowly now working our way into the town centre. Okay, so we're about to hit a roundabout, and just on that roundabout there's Ollerton Cemetery, which was established in 1863 according to these gates. There we go, you can see a building there in it. Can't quite tell from this distance what exactly it is. Probably an old cemetery chapel or something. There you go, cemetery. Commonwealth War Graves in there, by the way. This is dead opposite the Plough, another pub. There we go. And then the roundabout is just a few more paces further to the east. And on this corner, there's a Tesco petrol station. Now what I'm doing now is I'm turning right here at this roundabout and I'm heading down towards the council offices, and that will take us in a loop, a nice neat little loop through the town centre and back to the beginning. That miners' memorial, Ollerton's branch of Tesco, and its accompanying petrol station all sit on the edge of the Sherwood Energy Village. This is an industrial estate which has been built on the site of the former colliery, and it's state of the art. Some 600 people work here, around the same number as once did down the pit. Some big names can be found here. Take Center Parcs. The Sherwood Energy Village is the base for their UK head office, a logical location given their Sherwood Forest site is close by. This building is the E-Centre, a huge 3-floor office block with a striking curved facade covering 11,000 square feet. It even has potential for residential conversion in the future. Nottinghamshire County Council have offices here too. That's the building you can see in shot now. All of these buildings were constructed in 2008 and they sit around a central circle. Weirdly, in the middle of that circle there's a playground. Well, I guess they had to cater for everybody. Okay, it's town centre time. So if we follow this path from Sherwood Energy Village, you come onto one of Ollerton's 2 main streets. Past this white building here, I don't know what this building is, but we walk past this along this path and you can see one of the streets just there. We're going to walk up that, take a left turn onto the other one, and that will complete the route. As it turned out, the big white building is the back of Tesco. This is Sherwood Drive, which leads back to Forest Road. That there is the town hall, and it looks so small because originally it was 2 semi-detached houses. Next door there's St Joseph's Catholic Church. Ollerton has had a Catholic congregation since the colliery days, but this modern church was built in 1995. It's operated from Forest Town near Mansfield. Sherwood Drive is the smaller of the 2 streets that make up Ollerton Town Centre. Most of the main shops are on Forest Road. As small towns go, Ollerton has quite the selection. There are way too many shops to list everything along here, but it's a nice mix of both well-known chain stores and more independent retailers. Forest Road has everything considered essential these days, including a post office, a chemist, a bank, and several grocery stores. Oh, and we haven't mentioned buses yet, have we? You can get to all of this using several services, the Sherwood Arrow being one, which came past right on cue. Okay, we're halfway down the main street and we come across the Forest Centre, which is a little shopping precinct. Let's go in, see what this is like. Just going to wander straight in and back out again. I don't particularly like filming in places that are inside. Let's have a little look at this. Decked out in Union Jacks. Quite nice this. Look above here, look. Some depictions of mining on the wall up there. What's on the other side? Oh, Robin Hood making an appearance again. Alright, now we're into the last section of the route. This takes in the rest of Forest Road as far as an Asda store before turning down a footpath back to Walesby Lane. That means passing the library, which according to its very own website holds a plethora of historical information about the town, far more than I can fit into one video. Here's the Asda, which shares this little precinct with a branch of the original factory shop. Fun fact for you, logistics giant GXO, who work with Asda, have a depot in Ollerton on Cockin Hill. Earlier this year, Asda informed the company it preferred to be serviced though by a different site. And now we're on Walesby Lane again. Between here and Ollerton Town's football ground, there's one last landmark, and it's another school complex. Not nearly as big as the Dukeries, this one features Forest View Academy, which is in your shot now, and Morn Infant and Nursery School down the drive behind. And almost 4 hours later, I am within sight of the lane where I began. That has been one of the hardest routes I think I've ever taken on. Lots of hills involved, more than I thought. Apologies for the roadworks noise. I'll just cut this little bit. We'll go straight to the rest of section. Now for today's special section I had a couple of choices, but I think this was the best of the lot. This is the pumping house, which can be found off Winnie Lane towards Walesby Forest. It was originally called Boughton Pumping Station and it opened in 1905. It's a gorgeous building that features a huge brick chimney, a distinctive local landmark. You can see that chimney from various places around the entire town. When it was in operation, it was capable of pumping 20 million imperial gallons of water per day from the underlying sandstone aquifer. It was commissioned to do just that by the Nottingham Corporation Water Department until 1974, when Severn Trent Water took over. No longer in use for its original purpose, it's had various uses since its water pumping days, although now it's used as a unique wedding venue, having been refurbished to a stunning standard. Stick around after Newark and Sherwood's finished, by the way, because I know where there's another one of these locally. To finish with, I drove into Tesco to pick up some food, after which I headed down to the River Mourne again, where I sat on the bank next to Bellavita and dangled my feet into the cool, refreshing, ankle-deep water. Nice town, Ollerton, full of history, but very, very big. I'll see you next time, folks. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.